Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. It is Thursday lunchtime. I apologise for being a couple of minutes late. I've already seen my man on your bike, Scott, number one fan on your bike, Scott, coming in with the Sean is late. Listen, we're always a little bit late on this show, but guys, we got a big one today. We got Jonny back. Jonny's back. He's really unwell, but he's managed to raise himself like the Phoenix, Lazarus, whatever else. He's coming back in. He's going to show his face, and also we're doing a debut a panel show debutante, Guy Masterson. It's very rare that you find someone in the stadium and then you ask them afterwards if you fancy doing a fan cam, and the fan cam, it blows up and everyone in the comments is saying, get this guy on. He was excellent. And I've got his number. We managed to get in touch. He's on. This is his first on the panel show. I've already warned him. We are talking about some contentious issues today. With regards, well, we're going to be talking about ANGEBALL. We've got Jonny back. It's not a day that goes by when Jonny and I don't talk about ANGEBALL in some regard, but we're also going to be talking about the season ticket price hikes and how you feel about that. And I'm going to be telling you right now, guys, you know me, I will play the devil's advocate. And when it comes to economics and the financial side, I usually have a different take to the popular one, which is that Daniel Levy is the devil. I don't see it the way that I empathise and I sympathise with a lot of the opinions, but we're going to get into that as well. We're going to talk about Aston Villa. But let's get the guys in. Make sure you hit the like button, guys. Hit the subscribe button. And let's talk about it. But be nice. If you don't agree, be nice. You know the rules. This is what we do on the Spurs Talk Show. Let's bring Jonny and Guy in. Jonny, Guy, how you doing, guys? Welcome to the channel.
Hey.
Jonny, I'll start with you. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm here.
Sound horrendous, mate.
I couldn't make devil's advocate on Tuesday. It was too much to bear. I think the news has dragged me out of my sick bed today. Some sick going on rose me from my bed. I'm here, and I was going to say, Guy, that's a great name, Guy Masterson. It sounds like him. Well, who was Guy Masterson? Who was Guy Masterson?
Yeah, he was the lead. Frank Sinatra played him in the movie.
That's right.
In that West End musical.
That's right. Guys and Dolls.
Yeah. So people think they know me. I've heard of you.
Guy Masterson. Yeah. That's exactly where it is. Okay.
Yeah. I just go with it.
There's definitely some other. You brought Hollywood to Spurs Talk Show, Sean.
Well, we actually kind of have, because when I met Guy on Saturday, I found out that you bring up Guys and Dolls by accident there, Jonny, but actually Guy is someone who's into the arts, writer, producer, actor, singer, dancer. I think you're everything, aren't you, Guy?
Well, I wouldn't say dancer, although I was on Michael Jackson's Moonwalker all those years ago.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I was, yeah. My friend was technical director and there was a spare role in it, so he asked me if I wanted to be in it, so I did.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
But, I come from a theatrical family.
I can see the request now as Guy slides across the screen.
I promised my wife I'd learn to moonwalk by her 60th birthday, so that's what I'm going to do in the next couple of months.
Nice. Good. Listen, Guy, you went down fantastically well with your takes, your very balanced, eloquent takes on the game. And you were saying that we are on the cusp. I think I titled the video, we're on the cusp of greatness, I think you said. And so we're going to dig into that. And I think we have a balanced perspective here. I think that, Jonny and I sometimes see a little bit, through the same lens with regards where we're at. But it's always important to get the other side. So we're gonna welcome you in, Guy, and we're gonna throw you straight under the spotlight,
under the Spurs bus,
because before we get into where what we're doing with ANGEBALL, before we're getting into the Aston Villa game, I think we have to start with the kind of hot topic of today. And I haven't got the full details up, guys, but I have got the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust official response to the news. And let me just give you a little bit of background. I'm sure everyone is aware of this, but this week has been marred with Twitter exploding for a bunch of different reasons around tickets. Not just the season ticket price rises, the kind of the nuts and bolts of it. The cliff notes are that the season ticket prices have gone up by 6%, which is only the second price rise for what it's worth in 5 years. if you annualize, or if you kind of average out the overall increase, it's 1.5% per year since the new stadium opened, which is, for me personally, I would say it right from the get-go. I don't think it's too unreasonable. But on top of that, you also had there's more detail about the season ticket. I think that a lot of the anguish is around the concessions, the dilution of concessions to seniors and to children. It is. Hang on a second. Apparently, my microphone is the wrong microphone. Let me just double check that's. Sorry, guys. That should be better. Is that better microphone now?
Yeah.
Sorry about for you. Yes.
Oh, I do apologize, everybody. And we've got two guys here that are, they're both season ticket holders and both going to be affected by this. So we're going to get their take on it. But just for the other background, of course, there is also the outrage at the fact that there's 100,000 One Hotspur members who were desperate to get hold of 7,500 tickets for the North London Derby. And Twitter went mad about the One Hotspur membership not being worth worth the time, worth the money. So a lot of heat on the club for essentially access at reasonable value to watch Tottenham live. So we're going to talk about that for as long as we have to go for it. But we are going to spend and save some time to talk about other things. In a nutshell, the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust, as usual, comes out with a very powerful but almost irrelevant statement saying that they're unhappy. And from there, they usually get their heat saying, what's the point of you? You're not doing very much. I personally don't particularly, I understand and empathize and sympathize with the frustrations, but I do come at it from a more of a business head on it. So you can hate me in the comments all you want. Guy, I'm going to start with you straight away, under the spotlight. Tottenham Hotspur raising season ticket prices by 6%. Let's start with the kind of top line number here. It's 7.5% in the last 5 years, 1.5% a year. 17 Premier League football clubs last season rose their season ticket prices. Tottenham didn't. That seems to have been immediately forgotten. Everybody else around us has got incredibly high season ticket. Fulham has got higher season ticket prices. Arsenal have risen their season tickets. Just on the number, forget about the specifics of the seniors for a second. Is it outrageous for Tottenham to raise their season ticket prices when inflation over the same period, you could argue, is probably 35-40%. The cost of doing business, the cost of putting on the events has gone up by 35-40%. Season tickets gone up by 7.5% over the 5-year period. How do you feel about it?
Well, you've answered the question in your own question. You said everything else has gone up, but we held our season ticket prices for the last 5 years pretty much around 1% or whatever it was, and now they've gone up. Well, I don't blame the club for having to put the prices up, because everything around them that's sustaining those ticket prices have gone up too. So the overheads have gone up around the stadium. And I blame Liz Truss, to be honest, because she completely screwed the economy, and here we are paying the price for it, and we're not immune to it. In fairness, I do think with the club being so wealthy now that maybe it would be nice to see some come back to the supporters who actually pay for the stadium and everything with our attendance. But I understand why it's gone up, and 6% is not inflation level.
Jonny, is it an economic thing? I know you listen. If you want to throw Daniel Levy and go after him, feel free. Just tell me exactly how you feel.
No, listen. What I would say is that I think the one element here that a lot of people are missing is the climb in season ticket prices once we move to the new stadium. If I was a politician, I'd be dragging out that 1.5% 5 years ago. That would be great headlines, but the reality is somewhat different. For example, I'll give you an example. It's probably not the best example, but I was in a box on the halfway line in the old East Stand, and I paid for 3 seats, £12,000 for 3 seats. Okay. I was then asked to move to the new stadium to be in a seat, not on the halfway line, okay, as part of the box. And I was quoted £30,000 plus VAT. When I picked myself up off the floor,
a week later,
laughed I realised that that wasn't for me. Now I'm saying that that's an extreme, but even the stands for the for the standard seats in the south stand, they went up quite considerably. Look, I'm of the view that the amount of money that's being brought into the stadium now through lots and lots of different events is bringing money in, which it subsidises the repayments of the loan per year, 25 million a year repayment loan. But some of that money, in my opinion, could go towards subsidising the fans. And I like to quote the German model, where some people, when I mention the German model, they think I'm talking about Bayern Munich. I'm talking about in general. German fans are afforded extremely cheap tickets.
Yeah, but it's a 50 plus 1% ownership model. It's completely different. It wouldn't survive in the UK.
I understand that. Sean. But what I'm saying is there is an avenue to balance and to read the room. And I think the problem with this board is they've had an inability to read the room on so many occasions. COVID, laying off staff, that I could go on for a long, long time. I'm not going to do that here because it's a separate subject. I just think that, getting rid of children's concessions, getting rid of older people's concessions who have supported the club forever. I'm in a fortunate position where I can afford my season ticket. There are many who this season had to give up their season tickets because they couldn't afford them. They're going to increase even more. And can I just say, people are just saying, well, it's only 3 or 4 million, which I think they should swallow it, is we are now going to have a minimum, if we qualify for the Champions League, 4 home games in the Champions League, where they have already put the price of individual tickets up for non-season ticket holders at the beginning of this season. They will also go up at the beginning of next season.
We don't know that yet. We don't know that. There hasn't been an announcement, have we?
Well,
about the price
we do
of
know that, because when it's Champions League, it will always go up. It's just
we can assume, but yeah,
so their income is going to be greater, Sean. That's the point I'm making.
Well, let me ask you this though. Okay, so and I'll put this back to you first, Jonny. Then I'll get Guy's take. The German model. A lot of people are referencing right now a quote from Uli Hurst, I think it is, who said we already charge £105, 105 euros or whatever it was. We could put the price up to 300, and we make an extra couple of million. It's irrelevant, right? Football is about the fans, and people that want to latch onto that, or latch onto this idea that essentially football fans should be treated as fans, not as customers. And I hear it. I completely understand. And this is me playing the devil's advocate, because I think that you're only going to see one-sided arguments on a lot of channels, and I want this to be balanced. Is that the two aren't separated. The two are not. The two things can be true at the same time. You are fans, we are fans, but we are also customers. At the end of the day, every single penny that comes into Tottenham Hotspur, whether it's from sponsors, corporate, season tickets, buying beers, burgers, whatever else, it all comes from fans in some format. Even the money you're paying to Sky, you're not paying for Sky. Don't have the money unless you're paying for it because you like football. So it all comes. It's all very cyclical. It's all very complex, and the tentacles of the financial reach it goes into a million different pies. My argument, though, is that when people latch onto things like the Bayern Munich story, that the Uli Hurst thing, they're referencing something from 10 years ago. It was 2014-15 season. And the average season ticket price at Bayern Munich then was 130 euros, 110 euros. It's now 750. So their prices have gone up 7x in the last 10 years, in no small part because of the advent of financing football, money in football, the sugar daddy world that has completely destroyed football. Guy, you made the point about Liz Truss. Not Liz Truss for sure is a problem. COVID was a problem. Ukraine war, Israel, Hamas, all that stuff. All these things are massive third-party influences on the cost of living. If Tottenham were to, sorry, I'm going to rant here. I'll get to a question in a second. If Tottenham were to always just go, It's 3 or 4 million. It's 10 million here. It's 5 million there. If Tottenham were always to sit there and say, well, let's not change the prices because our costs have only gone up by 5% or 8% or 10%, eventually your margins are eroded. Eventually you're a finished business. You can't take that same approach to everything all the time. But the second that you don't, the second that you put your prices up in line with the increase in cost, suddenly the Levy out banner is flown again. Jonny, I've said I'll come to you first. I said a lot there. Sorry, I'm on a bit of a rant. Sort of break it apart.
I think we're missing the point here. Look, I'm one thing that angers me probably most about the new stadium. I feel like we've been cleansed. We've been historically cleansed. When I look at the outside of the stadium, there's no reference to our past. There's no reference to some of the football that I grew up in. There's the gates, which were promised over 10 years ago, the statue of Bill Nick, which should have been there. I don't want to hear stories of, we're trying to get planning permission for Bill Nick. Do me a favour, right? You got planning permission for a huge 62,000 seater stadium. You can get planning permission for this. I think they've forgotten about the soul of the club. And, one of the quotes Bill Nick used was it, we always consider our supporters, for without them, there would be no professional football. It would be better to have more fans watching football the way they like it played, rather than to have a few fans watching football the way we would like it played. But if you edge that over a little bit and manipulate it a little bit, what he's saying is without the fans, there is no club. And I just think that there's a balance, Sean, here with, I just don't feel they ever read the room. I understand costs have gone up.
But the room is always partisan. The room is always based on, I want more for less. It's natural in life. It's the same in politics right now. You've just had the budget this week, Jonny, and everybody is saying, I want the NHS funded, plus I want a tax cut.
No, listen.
Can I interject?
Please, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm hearing a very emotional argument on one side, which I thoroughly empathize with, and a very logical, rational business argument on the other. And the fact is that the Premiership is the master race when it comes to business, isn't it? And all the other leagues have suffered in the last 10 years because the money is flowing into the Premiership. We've got the best players coming in. We're paying them the best prices. We were completely screwed by Abramovich, who set inflation through the roof. That was echoed by whoever came into Man City. I don't even want to mention their names. And they've simply bought the Premiership for the last 6 years. Financial fair play is only just starting to bite. I'm just hoping they'll keep the teeth sharp. And we are going to be well placed to take advantage of all of that, because Levy, for all of his not reading the room and all of the other faults and the apparent greed of the club and all of that, as read by the supporters, has actually resulted in us being the richest club in London and possibly heading to be the richest club in the Premiership. Now, what that means is we can finally compete without sugar daddy money, without breaking financial fair play rules, and we can attract the best players in the world. Everything's in place for that. We've got one of the best stadiums on the planet. We've got perfect training facilities. If this isn't the foundation for some future success, and to echo Levy, that's what he set out to do. Because at the time when they took over, and Levy haters are going to hate me for this, but I have to say this: when Levy realised that no one was going to dip their hand into the pocket to support Spurs in the way like Abramovich did, the only way we could compete was to become a financial powerhouse. And for all those other faults, we are now that powerhouse, or we are going to be that powerhouse. And if that's what it takes to get us to success on the field, then we've just got to eat the shit for another little while before that starts to come. And this is why I think we're on the cusp of something incredible, because I believe that Ange is playing the kind of football that we want to see. Second, if he is able to attract the sort of player that fits his profile, that delivers Ange ball, it's a conversation about to happen, in the way that he needs it to, in an uncompromising fashion, success may well come our way. And then we are best placed to take advantage of that for years to come. Who knows? We could become the next Barcelona for God's sake, or the next Madrid.
The trouble
with
is,
with the finance.
Sorry to interrupt there. I was saying that the issue here is it's the old story, the boy who cried wolf. We've heard the story, we've heard the pitch for many, many years, and it's got to the stage now where, through his own fault in many cases, he scored many own goals. People don't believe the story. We're already doubting what will be spent in the summer. Will we really challenge? Will we really back Ange? What level?
Well, we have to wait and see, don't we? We have to wait and see, because this is the first season when we've got the money coming through.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And we have anyone that says we haven't backed managers.
No.
I would absolutely counter and challenge that. I think that unfortunately we've just misspent the money. We're very good at finding ways to create money, but over the last 4 or 5 years, through a combination of Daniel Levy's inability to step away from transfers, for having the wrong directors of football like Steve Hitchin, whatever else, by betting big on players that we shouldn't have done, Ndombele's come to mind, then we've ultimately wasted the money, which is a problem. But that doesn't
Steve Hitchin was
or stop the fact that you still need to find the next wave of money. And fans are where that's going to come from. But it's not just fans of Tottenham. We're doing it through fans of Formula One now. We're doing it through fans of Beyonce. We're doing it through fans of rugby, through fans of NFL. We're trying to diversify the responsibility of fans specific to Tottenham to share the load, but we still have to find the money, and ultimately it comes through fans.
That's true. But here, the argument that we built the stadium for the club, which is, there's no doubt, we built the stadium to bring in the income for the club. A lot of Ennick out people would say, oh, they're just building it to feather their own nest, to get rich, all of that. Let's forget that as a possibility. Let's think about the money coming into the club. Levy has always said that the money coming into the club will be fed into the football on the team. Right. We are yet to see that, but this is the first season when we can start to exploit it. Now, he brought in Mourinho to get that group of talented players over the line. That failed. Those players faded. They brought in Conte for one last shot, thinking that he might be the man. After all, success has followed him wherever he went. That failed. Okay. Now we've gone back to a very much more foundational sort of manager, the sort of Billy Nick manager, and we're screaming at him because occasionally we're not breaking through an 11-man low block in his first season, when we actually thought we were going to end up 8th or 12th this season, and we're fighting for 4th. So, that's another thing. So yes, he's made mistakes, but also he's not going to step away. There's no way that Levy and Ennick are going to step away from this money-making machine, regardless of whether they're in it for the money or in it to support Spurs. Hopefully, if Levy is, as he says he is, the Spurs supporter from youth, well, this is the start of that. This is when it needs to pay back. And going back to the ticket prices, part of that paying back might be to subsidize us fans. At the moment, it doesn't look like that. At the moment, they're just dealing with it as a business increase, inflation. But I would like to see it come back to the fans. I would like to see, we've made so much money this year, boys, there's 10% off ticket prices. Fat chance.
Guy, the thing is here, I was going to say to you, throw us a bone. Yes, throw us a bone. Throw us a crumb. Not even a bone. Throw us a crumb. I think, we can see we got the F1 track is in there now, and by all accounts, it's an absolute smash hit, which I expected it to be. You've now got them applying for now 20 concerts a year. 20 concerts a year, which is incredible. Yeah, the
more the merrier. Keep those people in Tottenham employed. Bring in the money to the club. Fantastic.
Yeah, this is great, right? Listen, as a businessman, Daniel Levy is unrivaled, right? Of what he's created as a person who has empathy and can read the room. He doesn't have a clue, unfortunately, right?
What does reading the room? What does reading the room entail? Does reading the again? This is playing devil's. I'm going to rename this. This is Devil's Advocate episode 18.
Should we go COVID, where he laid off all the entire staff when he was getting the money, and some of the other things he's done?
So did 90% of businesses that could.
I understand.
He's a businessman. He is a businessman.
I get it. Listen, this isn't bash Levy. I'm just saying there's a balance to things, okay? When you go to a meeting at the beginning of the year and he turns up and he says, we got our Tottenham back, and everybody applauds.
Of course, he's also an opportunist. He waited until everything was looking great, 8 games in, and then held the fan
I'm not
forum.
stupid.
Right?
He's a politician. He's a politician. Yeah. He waited till he hadn't been beaten yet, and he went in there, and it was fantastic.
Let me challenge you on this one. Different part of the conversation, Johnny. The other fact of the matter remains, when it comes to season ticket prices, that we are working in a world with demand and supply economics. Again, people are going to hate me for bringing up just the business side of the conversation, but there is 80,000 people that are One Hotspur Plus members that are waiting for a season ticket that can't get them. There is also 100,000 people, apparently 100,000 people that are One Hotspur members that don't want to wait for a season ticket, but just want access to a game every now and again. A game against North London derby rivals.
Is that just in Korea, or is that?
Well, exactly. Okay, well, fine. But an interesting point, right? So there's a lot of foreign fans at the moment on Twitter. Korean fans seem to get a lot of, or the idea of Korean fans taking up the spaces or whatever. It's like coming over here, taking our jobs. I'm not a fan of that narrative. I think everyone is welcome, wherever you are, wherever you're from, any race, color, or creed. If you want to come to Tottenham, you're more than welcome to. If you are people that are paying for the tickets from ticket tout websites, then I don't like it. I've done it myself, as shameless as it is, but I think that
only for the away games I have an issue.
Right, but let's move away from the Korean thing for a second. The reality is that season ticket holders buy their season tickets and then put the tickets up on the exchange. Daniel Levy could have stopped that this week. He decided not to. You know why he decided not to? Because he'd rather have the maintenance. He'd rather have an 80,000 seat waiting list on the season ticket thing, because that gets him an extra £55 a year in the membership, rather than making it more difficult for people that do own season tickets but don't go to the games and put 90% of the tickets up on the exchange. He likes to have that bottleneck because it justifies the supply and the demand economics, where you can raise prices and ultimately some people are going to say, I can't afford it anymore, I'm going to drop it, but there's always someone else to come in. And unfortunately, we do live in a world where when people get on planes, some people turn left and most people turn right. And it is what it is. It's not ideal. I would love a situation where Tottenham could have a 200,000 seater stadium and the ticket prices could be £30 for every in the nosebleed section, or £10. But it doesn't work that way. Haringey Council said you can't have anything more than 62,000. Tottenham could fill that stadium 3 times over for most games if they wanted to. But they don't. But the stadium is what it is. The demand is what it is. The supply is what it is. And I think that when you look at those fundamental realities, into a cost of living crisis, into a cost of doing business crisis, I don't think it's that outrageous to argue that you can put prices up. It might be insensitive, but it's just reality.
Sure. No one's asking for that, but that you can't put prices up ever. I'm just saying that, look, there are various aspects here. You know, you take your children along, right? Do you know how expensive it is for an adult to go, then to take their child and be expected to have no concessions? There's a balance to these questions. And what I'm saying is, reading the room, I understand, 1.5% a year. I get that. It seemed fair on the surface. But like I said to you, there was a huge jump when we moved to the stadium. But what about when you're taking your child to the stadium and now you're not getting a concession? Or Yeah, go on.
Can I jump in? Jonny, that's a good point. There was a huge jump, but and much as we like the old place, and I loved it,
I loved it.
The energy of it and everything. I nearly died on the shelf several times, being lifted up and thrown down the thing. But the experience of the old White Hart Lane, that you couldn't even afford to have a drink before the game because you knew you weren't going to be able to have a piss at half time, or even get anywhere near a pie. The experience wasn't worth a lot of money. It was worth for the match alone. I remember going 50p, I think it cost me to get in. And then of course later on, when the Premiership started, I couldn't get in. I couldn't, because I wasn't a season ticket holder, so I couldn't get a ticket. I went on the waiting list, found myself at 32,000 on the waiting list, and that was 30 years ago. So you're going, the experience now is a full experience. You can go there 2 hours before the game, enjoy a meal, have a few drinks with mates, and lower than West End prices. you can take a piss anytime and only have to line up for about 2 minutes. That's a big asset for when you get to my age. And then and the only thing wrong with the whole experience is that in order to get a drink at halftime, you have to leave 5 minutes before halftime. But 5 minutes, it used to be you had to go in, come out 3 minutes after you went in to get a drink at halftime.
But Gav, where is the soul?
The soul is going to, well, the soul has always been in the support. It's always been in the way we cheer and the way we sing the songs. And, you know, that place was chock full of lifetime supporters who knew all the songs and surged at the right time. It was a fantastic atmosphere, but it was only 35,000 people. It's going to take time for that soul to come back, and it's going to take success on the field to bring that back. Oh God, what would a piece of silverware do for us? Absolutely, it will start that. But at the moment, I still think when I said we're on the cusp of something amazing, it wasn't just to do with ANGEBALL. It was to do with the fact that the stadium and the wealth and everything is coming to fruition. And yes, the delays getting back into our stadium were huge and costly. Then COVID hit right at the wrong time. Then our team peaking early and then not succeeding under Mourinho. You know, and a possible League Cup, if we hadn't fired the bastard, would not have been worth that to me at all. You know, where we are now is literally we're on the top of the diving board, looking down into this sea of success, and we are looking for a short-term solution. ANGEBALL isn't working. Get rid of Ange. He did it in the Scottish Premiership. He did it in Japan. He'll never do it in the Premiership. You know, this kind of stuff. Levy is selfish. Levy is at the head of a board. The board make most of the decisions, and if they vote against Levy, he's got to accept the decision. We are assuming, or the anti-Levy people out there are assuming that he makes every single decision. We've got no idea what goes on in that boardroom or who says what. You know, he's a Spurs fan. There's no doubt about that, much as Spurs fans want to hate the idea of that. But he is, always has been. So he might be saying, we really can't increase ticket prices, Mr. Boardroom. And they're going, sorry, Mr. Levy, we're going to raise ticket prices.
Oh, yeah, I'd be surprised if that was the case. I think there's probably a little bit of
I've got to tell you, that's a great story, but the reality is the reality is somewhat different. Look,
the reality of what you choose to believe, though, Jonny.
Well, I'm not going to say what I know. So,
great. Jonny knows a few people that knows a few people within the.
I just say that, yeah, I know the people involved in the building of the stadium. I know the people who are kitting it out. Listen, you know, it was quite weird. I was looking for something in the cupboard before, and I found some of my old season tickets, and it had my name on it.
Yeah,
you know, I was a fan.
You know what the difference is, mate, is that people have names on tickets these days, but a lot of the reason why this problem arises is actually self-inflicted from the fans. It's the fact that there's a lot of the screenshot crew, right? And there's the fact that it would be impossible. The bottleneck on entry into the stadium would be too crazy to ask every security guard to double check that every ticket is aligned to the person who's got them. The screenshot crew who screenshot the barcodes, who don't go through the CRNs, that creates its own inflation in the ticket prices. The people that go to away games that have the enough loyalty points, but don't ever choose to go and sell those tickets to whoever at £500 or £300 to those websites, and then they get passed on at £400 or £500. They're in and of themselves creating the problem. But it's always very easy to push the idea, to push the shit uphill, and that the buck stops at the top. But in reality, like I said at the start of this kind of debate or this conversation, people want more for less. People want to have their cake and eat it. They like, just like in politics right now, you want the NHS funded, you want all the money in the world to go in the public sector, but they at the same time don't want to pay the taxes. It's a complex beast. As a business owner, I think when the rubber meets the road, yes, you can empathize and make the argument that the fans are always the ones that are hit. But in reality, all money starts in a cyclical fashion through the fans anyway. And if you take the approach to cost increases should be just absorbed by the club so that the fans aren't hit, then you end up with, you do that everywhere. If the VAT man puts up the prices of tax on a pint of beer, for example, they didn't this time around, but they might do next year. If Tottenham don't pass that price on, that's another 3% erosion to the margin. You have to just shake hands with it's business at the end of the day. And I think when the season ticket prices are up by only 1.5% per year since this, I take the point that the prices did go up when we moved from Wembley,
but the experience went up.
The experience went up 100%. That's a great point, Guy. The experience went up alongside it. The last topic I want to just cover quickly, because you guys.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to that. If Spurs had spent, I mean, you mentioned Liz Truss before. Steve Hitchin is our Liz Truss. You know, he was our Liz Truss. You know, he unfortunately was given a huge war chest, and he squandered it, you know, in a really poor manner. Some of which we're still trying to get rid of and pay for now. But
you mean the Gareth Bale money?
Yeah, well,
the money that was spent on Dombele, and I could list the whole load. He spent probably the largest amount of money that's been given to someone. I won't go into what I think about Fabio, because he was the best thing that's happened to this club, Paratici, in a long time, because, you know, common sense prevailed and we employed someone who's great at their job. But I'm just saying, do you think that the backlash would have been less had... I'll give you an example. So Arsenal fans were extremely unhappy with the running of their club, and they marched on the stadium in their thousands to see Kroenke.
In the hundreds. It was hundreds. They don't have thousands.
Well, so they marched on the stadium, and Kroenke Jr. came out and he pledged that he was going to change things. He was going to listen to the fans, and they would start to invest and spend the money. Now, that could have been another false dawn.
That's just debts against the country, against the company, though.
I'm just saying, right? What they did, they spent the money, and they continued to spend vast sums of money on that squad. I'm asking
Johnny, again, just quickly, mate. I've just got to stop that, kind of nip that narrative in the bud. There's only two ways that an owner can add value, can just put money out of their pocket into a football club, right? You can't just go, here's 100 million quid. And then, like, the impact of it vanishes. You either dilute the shareholding of minority shareholders, which is what Tottenham did in 2022, or if you already are the wholly owned company that owns it, then it adds onto the club as debt. The only club that got away with writing off debt was Abramovich, when he had €1 billion of debt against Chelsea, and that was allowed to just suddenly magically vanish and disappear because of the circumstances in which that happened with Russia and Ukraine. So even if Daniel Levy turned around and said, here's 500 million quid to the club, but we're going to dilute the rest of the ownership. They're just grabbing more of a football club, but they're taking it from the other shareholders in dilution. So there's no freebies in
and it has to be agreed.
No, I know there's no freebies, Sean, but come on, there's a balance, Sean, in this, right? I'm not saying go out and spend 500 million, but, you know, when you've sold Harry Kane, okay, and you go out and you buy, with great respect, Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner on loan, it's not going to set the world on light. I'm not going to say that they're not going to come on and be great players in the future. I'm just saying here, you know, when you put in the prices up by 6%, if fans could see, I'm asking the question, if fans could see that the money was being pumped in to improve that squad, buying better players, okay? I think we have improved the squad immensely for fair value, for really, really good value.
Right.
You know, we've squandered when we spent big. I'm just saying, if fans could see that, would this rise?
Yes.
Well, haven't we already seen it, Guy? Are we not already ahead of expectations under Ange?
We are, because we thought we were going to be shit this year. But look, no chairman or board is going to invest 100 million in a new manager without understanding where they're coming from. Yes, we had to plug some holes. We had to get rid of some older players. I would love to have seen what Perisic would have done had he stayed fit, because he was putting crosses onto a sixpence. And he would have been a great leader for Brennan Johnson, who wasn't expected to come in and play every game at the beginning of his career. What I'm saying is that we are now at a point where we can compete with Arsenal, Liverpool, and pay big money, because that money is now coming into the club and it's not coming out of some sugar daddy's pocket, and we aren't going to break FFP rules. We're now at that point where we can, but it needs to be done prudently. It needs to be done with a team of people who know what they're doing. And I think if you look at all the people that Levy has appointed in the last year, and he's pulled himself back out of the day-to-day running of the club, because he knows that this is where we're at, and right. and I think that we are about to see the fruit of the whole project in the next couple of years.
Would you tolerate a Ratcliffe style investment? Yeah, whereby somebody came in who is more aligned to the football part of the things, where they run. Levy runs the, say, for example, the off-field. I'm just.
I don't think we need that.
Let me ask you this. Okay, that whole situation is yet to be ratified anyway, even though it's done. It's just not ratified.
Yeah.
How much of the money that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has bought the club for, right, $1.5 billion or whatever it was, how much of it is going to go into the Glazers' New York bank account versus going into Manchester United?
The majority of it.
Vast majority of it. So if that situation was to play out, where Daniel Levy was to sell 20, or ENIC was to sell 25% of the club to whoever, shake, rattle and roll,
shake your money,
and they took £1 billion out, and there was only £200 million left, £250 million left, Tottenham Hotspur fans would go mental at that. He's damned if he does. He's damned if he doesn't. It doesn't matter. Everyone that's angry today about the share price, about the season ticket prices going up, they have long forgotten the fact that last year they froze the season ticket prices, and no one gave him his flowers for that. No one gave him any credit for it. The same with all they did was they decided to focus on the price, the increases in the price of access to match day tickets that weren't for season ticket holders. That was the reason I was going to hit you. That was the stick I was going to hit him with today. This season, we forget about the season ticket price freeze from last year. Let's go after him for this year's season ticket prices.
What about child concessions? What about child concessions? Do you think that's a fair? Did you think he needed to attack child concessions?
I think the child concessions is probably. Listen, I'm not sitting here arguing that he's perfect. I think that there's so much wrong with the whole ticketing process, the whole ticketing access. I think it's massively broken. I'm going to do a video about it anyway in a couple of days.
What was the first line, Sean?
Hang on. Let me get, because one second. Let me finish. Let me learn. The senior thing, and this is why I want to get your take on it, guys, because I think both of you are approaching that. You're both going to be people that could. I know you've got a 10-year debenture, Johnny, so maybe you're tied in anyway. But Guy, you're certainly going to be affected by it. You were
30 years to go. Yes.
Yeah.
3 years.
You got a few years to go, 3 years to go until you would have accessed. Now you're going to get it at a discount. You're going to lose 15% of the value that you would have got. My concern about this narrative, and it's going to go down like a shit sandwich, is that the 2/3 of the population, the baby boomers, are going to need to be paid for by 1/3 of the population in life. There's an aging population. Every year, more and more people move out of employment. Less and less people are moving in to carry the weight of it. In about 5 years' time, I would say if the demographic of season ticket holders matches the demographic of the UK population, then I would make the argument that about 50% of the stadium who are currently season ticket holders would be eligible for a senior concession. And whilst I absolutely respect loyalty in seniors, not being able to, they're retirees, they're on pensions, etc. I get it, but the ultimate consequence of being as someone who's a working age, having to look at that would say, if 50% of the stadium were suddenly transitioned into senior concessions and they got 50% discounts, who has to take up the strain? My season ticket is going to have to eventually double in price to cover the costs that are lost, or cover the revenue that is lost from the discounts that are going to seniors. And I don't think it should be that way. I think that you have to have some difficult conversations and consider what is reasonable and what is fair. And I don't think someone who gets his season ticket at 64 years old for the first time, the first year, should immediately transition into a senior citizen and get a 50% discount. I think you should recognize loyalty. I think you should reward people that have been a season ticket holder for a long time. I think those people should be protected, ring fenced, like the triple lock pension in life. I think that there should be some protection.
You're talking about so many the minutiae of everything. This is a good thing to do on a separate stream. I would like to know the difference in volume that senior citizens or senior ticket holders make when they're in the stadium compared to younger people. And if younger people make more tickets for young people is what I say.
Well, I don't know about the kind of the amplification of noise.
Megaphones for old,
right? But I do. But listen, are you guys okay with the fact that your tickets will be not as cheap as you were hoping they were going to be?
For me, it is what it is. I think that evening of you went on that Liz Truss course, Sean, and come out with 50% of the stadium turning old age in the next 5 years.
That's not Liz Truss. She ignored. I think we're talking
about a small percentage, and this other fallacy of, oh yeah, the old people, they don't spend any money, they don't go in the club shop, right? What a load of rubbish, right? What a load of tosh that is, right? Old people got more disposable income, they're buying more beers, buying more stuff, so it's all rubbish, right?
So they can afford to pay more ticket. That's the ticket prices.
Some can, Sean. Some can. Some can. You know. But let's be serious, right? It is a very expensive hobby. Many, I remember last year saw that even with the frozen ticket prices, said that they can no longer, with the affordability crisis, they can no longer afford, unfortunately, to go to Spurs because it became a toss-up between going to Spurs and giving their kids or the son or the daughter or the wife or whoever it may be a better life. And, I can understand that. But I'm not saying give it away. I'm not saying, no increases. I just think that there is a balance. I think the stadium off the field is bringing in untold millions, and the untold millions is going to increase still further, giving us either one of two things. Is that money going to be used to fund even more money on spending to improve the club, or is it going to go into their coffers? I personally,
it never gets taken out in dividends. I would feel entirely different. The moment that Daniel Levy takes a £10 million dividend or a £50 million dividend or whatever out of the football club, my stance changes.
He took
I don't think
the
CEO wage structure, I don't think is an issue, because if you take someone of his intellect and of the size of the business that he has, if you were to take that person and correlate that with the earnings of a CEO of a Fortune 500 company CEO, he gets paid a pittance in
he owns the state, with the greatest respect, Sean. I hear what you're saying, but he owns a considerable stake in the business. He's also taking money out. They don't own a stake in the bank or in the company. They are an employee of that company. He increased his wages by £500,000 last year, I believe. I think the overall remuneration and wages for all the board was something like 3 million, was it? Am I right?
Yeah, 3 million, and then I think the board, the directors are getting paid an extra 50% or something.
But you do have to balance that increase against the increase in value of the company in which they're running. And,
I get that.
I'm a socialist, and I don't like to see wages at a ridiculous height. But, I do recognize, fair dues compared to a company bringing in as much revenue as Spurs are in the business sector. He's not earning anywhere near what they would earn.
Correct.
Yeah, but he's earning he owns like 26% of the business. All I'm asking you is, as more money comes in with these amazing events that have been held at the stadium, I'm all for it. I'm all for more concerts. I'm all for NFL team. I mean, anything that brings in the money, right, to the stadium.
As long as it's not long as it's not the fans.
Right, no. What I'm saying is, why can't there be a balance between money going to the owners and driving up the value, because it will drive up the value? Why not buy players and more money spent on that, and also at the same time throwing a crumb of a concession here and there to a fan is a gesture.
I get it.
I'm getting at here.
I totally get it. Look, it's a very complex topic. It's a very emotive topic. And I'm pretty certain that the comments that I'm going to receive afterwards are you're a cold-hearted bastard, Sean, who doesn't understand what it's like. I do, by the way. I do understand. But we have to have these conversations. But we've been talking this topic for 50 minutes. Unless there's any final comments that haven't been spoken by you two, let's progress. Guy, I want to get your take on ANGEBALL, on Ange generally. We know Johnny can absolutely come in at the, and battle it back and forth. How excited are you, Guy, about ANGEBALL? Do you see any vulnerabilities and weaknesses in his philosophy, or are you someone that kind of will take the bitter with the better and zoom out and see the progress that we're making?
Okay, so this is a very contentious. It's that tiny moment between the idealism of the philosophy and the execution of it. I believe the idealism of his philosophy is brilliant. He says blitz the opponent. This is how we're going to do it. Inverted fullbacks. We're going to absolutely high press them into making mistakes, and we are going to score early, and then the onus will be on them to attack and leave spaces at the back, and which we will exploit. He did that at Yokohama. He did that at Celtic. He did that at Brisbane Roar. This is his way of playing, but it requires non-compromise. Absolutely no compromise. The moment you compromise that system, we fail. It can't be a half and half. It needs to be full on. And in order for that to work, in my opinion, and also in the opinion of the biography writer of his that's witnessed all of it, you've got to have the players to make that happen. And in the Premiership, these are going to be very special players. You can do it on your way up from Australia to Japan to Scotland, but in the Premiership, they have to be the best of the best to play that system and make it work. Now, the other thing about ANGEBALL is that he says, ignore the clock, play to the end. Do not ever look at the clock. In fact, I'd rather not have a clock there at all in the stadium for us as well, because it gets bloody really painful to watch that we've only got 5 minutes to go and 2 goals to get. But if the players are glancing up, they say, "Oh, I've only got 5 minutes to go."
So true.
And the players, he wants the players to play to the end, play this way to the end, keep the pressure up. This is non-compromise football, and Ange is not going to compromise. And if he allows them to compromise, he is giving them permission to take the foot off the gas. And this system does not work if those players take the foot off the gas. Even being pragmatic when you're playing against a low block team, or a counter-attacking team that they're going to exploit the spaces at the back. Even in the pragmatism, he can't allow them to compromise. They've just got to play his game and play it better. And in order to make that happen, we need better players.
Can I ask you a question? You talked about playing to the end. Okay, and I appreciate that. But for me, playing to the end includes playing smartly, game management, i.e., when you're 1-0 up and you've got 3 minutes to go, or you're in injury time, you go down, you stop the ball. You don't try and progress the ball as if it's the first minute of the game, the second or the 5th minute of the game, trying to get the ball forward. I understand, when you're chasing the game, to play in that manner wholeheartedly, but there comes a time where you have to play sensibly, and
not in our own half.
No, we do it in our own half.
Yeah, we mustn't do it in our own half. We saw that with Højbjerg the other day. These pissy little passes in our own half and almost getting picked off.
But we do it. We do it consistently. I wanted to ask you as well, guys, what is ANGEBALL? I know what the theory is of ANGEBALL. I know the theory, and I'm all for the theory because,
well, I think you just answered it. It is that non-compromise theory of going forward, pressing every single ball and playing in their half. That's ANGEBALL.
Theory is theory, right? Practice is somewhat different. Now, I would say that Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, they came to the Premier League with fantastic reputations. Both of them took time to really stamp their mark on the Premier League. I totally accept that. But they didn't say, this is the way I'm going to play, regardless of who I'm going to play. I I think there needs to be a balance, that there's a certain arrogance. Look, I just think as well, game management. I don't want my manager like Arteta going mental on the side of the pitch, throwing his arms around every time. But at the same time, when things are fundamentally going wrong, and there's a break in the play, I see no communication between Ange and the players on the pitch, because he believes that he's given them the instructions already, and they should be able to follow those instructions on the pitch. But we all know, we were all once 20 and 21 years of age, and we all thought, oh yeah, right, okay, we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, but half the time one of the ears is closed. We're not following instructions. And I just feel sometimes that they need guidance from the side of the pitch. I'm not Ange out. I'm all for Ange. I'm loving this more progressive football, but I really do feel that he needs to mix it up a bit. I really do.
Jonny, are you saying that because you can't see him doing what Conte and Mourinho
No. I'm saying there's a balance.
That he's not doing it.
There's a balance between not much and none. Okay. If you see, it's his support staff that do the communication between him and the staff. I look, ANGEBALL for me. I look at Arsenal. Okay, Arsenal for the first 2 years under Arteta, and it was manic, frantic football. It was press, and they couldn't maintain that press for 90 minutes, and they lost games, and they lost their way as the season went on. What I see this season is a team that's evolved into a game that controls its press and is more measured to last over the 90 minutes. What
is the secret there? Better players.
And time.
But we don't have
time to learn the system as well.
100%. But what I'm seeing is we are in games for 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 15 minutes. I've only seen 2 games in the whole season. Burnley away, where we still conceded 2 goals, 5-2. I was at that game. And against Newcastle, who had half their team out. I'm not saying I'm not enjoying the football. I'm just saying I don't see, when it's not going right, I don't see a change. I don't see.
Let me ask this, Jonny, right? Just to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Manchester City are a team that dominates possession week in, week out. They usually find a way to break a team down, but there's some games where it takes them all day. Liverpool against Nottingham Forest last weekend.
Yeah.
Dominated. I know they were injury ridden, but the point still stands. Dominated, but didn't get the job done until the last minute. Against Crystal Palace, I was super frustrated by the fact that we couldn't break the team down. But you sit there and when you rewatch it, rethink about it, if you've got 80% possession and 17 shots, so much territory, yes, there's always going to be something you can nitpick around the kind of
the execution,
what you're doing with the utility of the possession, right? What are you doing with it? How much are you should we be shooting from distance more, giving them something to think about? But there's very few teams. Maybe you could look to Arsenal over the last couple of weeks, but very few teams go and put 5 or 6 past their opposition in the Premier League very often. Tottenham against Palace ultimately beat the team that they dominated for 80% possession 3-1. Yes, it took until going 1-0 down and the 75th minute to turn all of the possession into something meaningful, to convert it into output. But is that just part and parcel of being a dominant possession-based team, that other teams are going to sit back and play low blocks and just frustrate the life out of you? And is it just a matter of time? Most of the time, when we get better, with more time of the players learning this system, with better players, you're still going to face the same solution. You're still going to face the same.
Are you though?
Tactic.
Are you though? Look, for me, I look at it like this. The one thing that I really loved about ANGEBALL was that under Conte, they played with fear. Every player looked like they were fearful of losing the ball. Progressing the ball, if they lost the ball or they gave away possession, there was always repercussions. Players would shout at each other. What I really loved about ANGEBALL in the first few games of the season was players making risky passes, taking a chance, progressing the ball from the middle of the park. I saw a few people saying, yeah, Sarr's really good, but he loses the ball too often. He's encouraged to make those passes. What I saw...
That's a good thing, isn't it? That's a good thing.
100%. I'm all for that, Sean. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm getting onto this final part. What I saw against Wolves and what I saw against Palace, in that first half against Palace, over 400 passes, only 2 attempts on goal. What I'm saying is, why aren't we being brave and taking the risks in that section of the pitch? And what I mean by that,
shots,
taking on the man, trying to draw a foul, trying to win a free kick, instead of playing horseshoe around the box for an entire 45 minutes.
Yeah, I share your frustration with the horseshoe football. I do.
I'm seeing that risk element being taken away from our football that I saw in the earlier part of the season. If you win a free kick, take on your man. Take on your man. Don't keep passing it backwards and sideways across the pitch. 400 passes. It was too much. It's too much. And the same against Wolves. Take a risk, take on your man, draw a foul, win a free kick. You might win a penalty. We've had one all season. Look how far up we play in the, and I'm not blaming referees here. Look how high we play. And yet we won one penalty because we don't take enough risks in that final part of the pitch.
I was just about to go to Guy. He's he had to
I thought we were in the BBC when the wife or the husband
when the child comes in. Yeah. Is everything okay, Guy?
Yeah. My daughter danced outside the bathroom.
Oh, we couldn't hear it. We couldn't hear anything. It's fine, Guy. I wanted to come on you on that. Come to you on that particular point. Look, Jonny and I share a couple of feelings around the frustrations around the final third, kind of over egging the pudding, looking for the perfect thing. Do you feel
Arsenal
that
were
way,
doing
or do
that
you
for
Oh,
two years, weren't they? Arsenal were doing that.
Though. Arsenal take risks.
They are now. It took Arteta how long? 8 years, 7 years to get to where he is, and God knows how much investment. Ange's got us to where we are in half a season, and he knows exactly the profile of player he wants because he's done it 3 times, 4 times now. Look, it all comes down to what's going to happen in the next close season. It all comes down to the great question: will Levy back Ange to the degree Ange needs to be backed? Christ, if there's a manager who's come in who doesn't need to be backed, there's never been one like Ange.
And what does that look like for you then? Great segue. Well, what does that look like for you? Where do you see the biggest areas for improvement?
Well, quite clearly, we need more creativity up front. We need someone to help Maddison, someone of that ilk who's got even more guile. So Maddison for 60 minutes and someone else with incredible guile. For Eze, the idea of Eze coming into our team would be very interesting. This new boy that we've taken on from, is it Denmark?
Bergvall.
Sweden.
Sweden. He looks incredible. Whether he'll be able to continue that development in the Prem is another thing. The Delhi at the start of his career for us had that kind of wildness and guile that could open up defenses. Someone of that ilk up front. Defensive wise, our back four,
let me quickly just double down on that question before we move into a different section of the pitch.
Okay.
When you talk at the forward line, are you talking about wingers? Are you talking about someone to sit in as a 10 to compete with Maddison? Are you talking about a striker? What are you talking about?
We need another 10 to compete with Maddison and to complement him. I think that wingers, it's very interesting. We've got a lot of talent on the wing, and I would love to see Timo come back to the best.
Would you make that? Would you pay the £15 million, make it permanent, Guy?
He's got class. The question is, if he improves over the next 6-7 games, I mean, crikey, if there's a better showcase than what's coming up, Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, I've not seen one, and even Chelsea, Timo could completely.
We have the option, right? So £15 million is all it's going to cost.
I'd pay 15 million for him. Yeah, absolutely, okay. I would.
You can't get anything for 15 million down at the market now. I mean,
no, you can't. That's right. That's right.
You get for 15 million.
But listen, to me, my counter on that point would be, if you're just looking at the player, and you're thinking about value for money, then £15 million is value for money. However, if Tottenham are justifying, putting prices up on tickets, not to get back into it, and all the other things we're doing, and hopefully there's another article out that Tottenham are putting an application to treble the amount of non-match day events at the stadium, all those things,
You're saying, why don't we spend more money?
All these things, right? So if budget is higher, if maybe not now, but just in a kind of hypothetical scenario, if budgets are not that tight, if we do have the money to go again, then you sit there and you talk about the Timo Werner argument, and you don't necessarily just look at it from a value for money perspective. You look at it, you have to also bake in the context of it's a squad space of a non-homegrown player. And you kind of sit there and go, well, it's £15 million for a Timo Werner, who is a good player, but doesn't really score very many goals. His confidence is an issue. Is there someone else that you can bring in for £30 million that sits on the left-hand side, or £40 million? Or if money's no issue, should you take up a valuable non-homegrown spot in Timo Werner?
I'm absolutely with you on that. Look, if we've got the money and we can afford to go for the even better players, go for the even better players. But that's all up to Ange. He's got to have the profile of player that makes his system work. And so spend the money. Absolutely. I've got no problem Spurs spending the money because it's in the bank. It's our money. We're not going to break financial fair play rules. Spend the bloody money. Give Ange.
What about a striker? Is there any? Do you think that we're okay with Sonny and Richarlison and Alejo Veliz? Or do you think that if there was a
Sonny and Richarlison,
Ollie Watkins, we're playing Ollie Watkins on Sunday, but Aston Villa might be in FFP problems. If Tottenham could go in there and lean on that, would you like an Ollie Watkins?
We had the chance already, Sean. Right?
Strikers are gold dust. Yeah, we gold dust. But what striker's going to come to us when we know we've got Sonny and Rishi?
I think it's a different conversation than when Harry Kane was here. I think now that there's an Ollie Watkins, an Ivan Toney, someone of that level can come in and think, I can displace Richarlison.
Fine.
And Sonny can be put on the left, or Sonny's getting old. I can get my minutes.
Ange is not about loyalty. Ange is about practicality, pragmatism in terms of the team he picks. He's already said he doesn't get close to these players. He's not a Pochettino. He doesn't want a hug from them. He wants to play the best player for his profile in every position on the field. His back four at the moment is really strong, but we need a backup back four.
Can I just say up front,
before we get to defense, go on, Jonny.
Yeah, look, I don't think you can go into Europe with a 31-year-old striker in Son. And as Richarlison as your only striker, this isn't a first 11. All I see mentioned on social is he'll never get into our first 11. This isn't about first 11. We've seen it already. This is a squad game of football. It's not like the old days where you had 11. If you're lucky, you had one sub. This is a squad game, okay? We've seen ourselves, when the squad gets decimated, so do our performances. And I think when we're in Europe, we've been very fortunate we've not had Europe. And we've got away with one. I want to see players who take risks, and that's the one thing that I'm a little bit surprised about with ANGEBALL. As I said, I expected that risk not only to start. I remember Romero right at the beginning of the season. He made a terrible pass out the back. Was it Brentford game, or it might be in another game? Right at the beginning of the season, and it led to a goal for them. All the players came around, patting him on the back. Don't worry about it. Okay, that's what I want to see. Camaraderie. We see it in the middle of the pitch. We see it at the back, taking the risk. But when we get to that final third, I don't see it. That's why I want to see players taking the players on. That's why I was quite happy to see Timo, although...
I thought Timo took players on.
I thought he had his best game for Spurs on Saturday.
Correct.
He took players on.
Not just because he scored the goal, by the way.
No, not at all. Or the one he missed. And I was very happy to see Brennan Johnson do something which I've been calling out for, is to show some aggression in that tackle.
Yes.
Battle hard and battle firm. And I just want to see more risk. And that's why, for me, I would be signing someone like a Nico Williams, if we could, 45 million, who we know is going to attack players, go at players. A Doku goes at players. Oscar Bob goes at players. There are players that naturally attack the front line. And I think we need players like that. We also need a second striker. And quite honestly, those people are saying we need to sell Richarlison. Great. if we sell Richarlison, we can't just buy one striker. We need
exactly.
two. You lose that striker and you're in Europe, you're in the Champions League or Europa League. We're going to be in trouble.
The only thing about Richarlison, look, you know how people that watch the show know how I feel about him, and I know you feel differently, Johnny. But I'm not. I love the person. I love the person. The player, I'm still not convinced by. And what I ultimately feel, and I spoke about this with Dave on the Devil's Advocate on Tuesday, when you heard that whole story about him mistaking what Conte was asking of him to come up and apologize for being late to training, and he ends up saying, "Oh, the formation's shit, the team is shit, I'm not getting enough minutes," all that stuff. Like, there's a certain type of person that isn't playing very well at that particular point in his career, turns up late to training, and then takes the opportunity to throw the manager under the bus. And I wonder whether or not if we were to go and improve and get a better striker in, and his minutes gets sort of pulled back a little bit, whether you're going to see more of that kind of emotional outrage at not seeing the wood for the trees. He wasn't playing well enough, or and if he turned up late for training, then he wasn't professional enough to have the right.
Speaking about a specific player, you're not speaking about. Sorry, Johnny, you're not speaking about one of Ange's players. Ange inherited him.
No. Sorry, of course, 100%. My point is that in terms of what do we do with Richarlison, my question mark is we're seeing the best version of Richarlison right now, 9 goals in 11 games, but everything's going right for him, right? He's back from injury. He wasn't injured. He got over his injury. He was getting the minutes.
But Ange will let him go.
Confidence was there. Let him go. And I'm personally happy to see it. Before we get the response to the guys, I haven't asked you once, guys. There's 500 people watching on YouTube, another 150 watching on different socials. If you haven't already, can you hit the like button on the video? Can you hit the subscribe as well? I'm so sorry. I've been trying to say this for ages. Adrian, I know we've been done with the conversation. Your super chat here. Do Sky Sports subscriptions go up every season? And do people protest when the sub fees goes up? Watching footy on TV is no longer cheap these days, sadly. Adrian, I think we've covered it, because I completely agree with you, mate. I think that there's context. I think people don't moan when they want to go to Spain on holiday and the price of the flight is up an extra 50 euros or 100 euros. They end up, because they want to go on holiday, they pay it. I think that there is a lot to that. I appreciate your super chat, Adrian. Sorry, mate. I know the conversation's moved on. I should have brought
cash for questions, is it? Cash for questions.
That's how it works. Super chats, 100%. Sorry, Johnny, come back in. But please smash the like button, guys, on the video, and also I'm going to get Johnny's link in to get your.
I'm just going to say, right? People seem to think, look, we haven't replaced Harry Kane. You can't replace Harry Kane. He's a one-off. He's a phenomenon, right? You can't replace Ronaldo. You can't replace Messi. You can't replace. There are certain players who are generational. Okay. There's no guarantee, right? If you get rid of Richarlison and then you need to go out and spend 120 million potentially at least to get 2 quality strikers in, that you are going to get a striker that comes into the club and suddenly scores 25 goals. I just don't think they're out there. I mean, Solanke's having a very good season. But, would you pay 60 million for Solanke? He struggled at Chelsea, he struggled at Liverpool. He's doing well at Bournemouth. I don't
think you'd have to pay 60 million for Solanke.
Well, they're not going to sell him for less than 50, 60 million. There's no way.
Well, but Bournemouth's FFP is
whatever.
Like
they ain't going to sell him for. They're not going to sell him for less. So my point is, how many strikers out there? How many strikers of that ilk are there out there?
There's a lot of strikers out there that are better strikers than Richarlison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
I think Richarlison's a striker, but he's not a ball player. He struggles to get the ball under control. He hassles very well, and he takes advantages of popping balls and good crosses to his feet. But he does that very well. But he's not one that's going to open up defenses. He's the one that takes advantage of a gap or a popped up ball. That's where he's scoring his goals from. So we need someone like Harry.
I'm just saying, if we're going to get rid, okay, fair enough, okay, but I'm not interested in getting rid, and then we're getting a striker, and then we're all moaning. Oh, he's been here. He has only scored 1 goal in 6 games. It's not going. We should have kept Richarlison. We don't need 1 striker. We need 2. We need competition. I don't know whether we get 1 out-and-out striker, and then we get 1 up-and-coming talent that's still 20, 30 million. But what you're looking at over 120 million, I think, to buy 2 quality
I
strikers.
don't think money should be an issue at Tottenham right now. Like I've
It
punched my
shouldn't be,
numbers.
Sean, not with the season ticket prices going up.
Well, this is the thing, right?
Not with the extra 3 million.
This is one of the areas, right? The outrage from, not to get back onto it, but the outrage around the season ticket prices can only be, and not that it will matter to those people that are furious, and a lot of people are furious because they're affected by it, and I get it. They're kind of talking their book. Everyone has their own cross to bear. A lot of other people are opportunists who are desperate for their vision of Tottenham to come true, and for their hatred of Daniel Levy or whatever else to be magnified and amplified, and all this.
They don't want him to spend money. They want to prove that they're right.
Of course, yeah. There's a certain element of people that want these sorts of things where the price rises happen. They're always waiting for their chance to say, "I see, I told you so," and then they also want Tottenham to fail to a degree. As much as that sounds like, I'm not saying that everybody who hates Daniel Levy thinks that way, but there's a certain element that benefit. There's a currency in Tottenham's failure for them as a person. And but look, for me, I think that this summer, Tottenham Hotspur will need to demonstrate once again to the fans. There's a reason why January was the only time that the only club could do business in January was Tottenham to a degree. It's because of our financial prowess, because of all these things manifesting and becoming true. Same has to happen in the summer. And there's a lot of FFP situations regarding a lot of clubs that Tottenham are competing with, and a lot of players exist within those clubs that might be opportunities for Tottenham. People like Gibbs White at Forest, people like Ollie Watkins, people like Conor Gallagher, people like Isaac at Newcastle. We shall see.
I was desperate for Ollie Watkins when he was at Brentford. A friend of mine as a player at Brentford, and I watched them when he was in the Championship, and I just loved the way he just wanted to win so badly, and when he didn't, he was the most angry person on the pitch. Funny story about that, actually. When he left and went to Villa, and I was really upset about it, didn't come to Spurs. They brought in Ivan Toney from Peterborough, and I watched him in his first, I think, 3 games.
What a like-for-like replacement, right?
Yeah, and I thought...
Who would you rather have?
I turned around to my mate and I said to him, I watched three times. I watched Ivan Toney for Brentford, and this is the first time they've actually got it wrong. I said to him how wrong I was. Yeah, because he,
But I don't know who's a better striker. I think Ivan Toney's the best striker.
They're different.
They're different. They are different. They're
totally
100%
different.
very different.
But look how he turned that. Look how he turned that around.
Didn't Ollie Watkins turn us down though, Johnny?
No, we didn't value him and the same value as what Brentford. I just his work. What Unai Emery has done with Ollie Watkins to turn him into the striker that he has been very clever. What you always had with Ollie Watkins was unbelievable work ethic, where he would press right across that front line, left, right, through the centre. And what Unai Emery's done to him is told him, look, I want you to stop doing that. I want you to concentrate on arriving in the box. The rest is history. He's having his best season, both creating and scoring goals. How many strikers you get rid of? You get rid of Richarlison. Chelsea are looking for a striker. Liverpool could be looking for another striker if Salah goes. There are many clubs who are going to be looking for strikers, not just here but also in Europe.
Right. Yeah,
it's not going to be easy.
Tottenham should be fairly well poised to be able to compete. Right. I listen. I'm someone that will sit here and play the devil's advocate and defend the financial decisions of Daniel Levy, but ultimately it's all for purposes of debate. But actually, at the same time, it all comes to nothing if, when the opportunities are there to strike, we don't take them. And this summer is going to be pivotal, and the litmus test, I guess, will be found out. Guys, I want to just double check. I asked you for an hour and 15 minutes. We're just past that. I've still got what I want to go to the defense to ask Johnny and Dave about the defense, and I also want to ask you guys about Villa. How much time do you guys have?
Could do a little bit more.
I can do it for another half an hour.
Okay, perfect.
Nothing I like more than a Spurs chat on a Thursday afternoon.
It's perfect, isn't it? It's a wonderful thing to do. Before we get into it, then, let me just get a couple of super chats out and to speak to them. Jory, good to see you, my friend.
Cash for quick.
He said, cash for chats. Here we go. 15 million for a squad winger that's currently a first 11 player. Best deal around. We need to add a £60 million striker to battle with Richie Big. Jory, it's interesting, mate. I didn't know your take on Timo Werner, but knowing you as I do, I didn't think that would be your take. But you're saying that you think it's a brilliant value. That's interesting, guys. Super quickly, I don't want to dwell on it. Do you agree, Guy?
I do. Keep Timo.
Jonny,
Absolutely.
you agree as well?
Yeah, it's a German international. He's got very good football IQ, something that we're missing up front. He takes on players. He doesn't just check back. He doesn't just go down the line. Confidence is king. He's been lacking confidence. I believe that under the right manager and this system, I think is tailor-made for him. And, when we come into Europe next season, a player having a player even like him on the bench or as a squad gives
he's got Champions League experience as well, right?
Correct.
Let's not forget
Correct.
a lot of it.
Correct.
The only thing I don't want to see us is I don't want to see us matching his salary. I don't think he's necessarily worth top club earner status, but we'll see.
We can afford it now. We can use the 3 mil.
There you go. That's what your season ticket money is paying for, people. SOF, thank you very much, mate. Very, very generous of you. And getting results with no midweek games / more training. Will Spurs get results next season playing in Europe with less training, Euros and Copa America this summer equals shorter preseason? Don't forget the Euros as well, SOF. The Euros is on as well. Top signings needed to maintain the position. Jonny, that's an interesting. I guess it's obvious, but it's also very interesting. How much value can we really derive from Ange's first season, knowing that his second season is going to have twice as many games to be played, or maybe 50% more games?
I've been going on about this from early doors. How is this football going to be maintained in a second season with a lot more games? I think Liverpool have played 17 more games than us already, Of course, you can see what's happened to their squad, but somehow they have some depth. I mean, they've been decimated. I think the interesting thing for this season is, as he quite rightly mentioned, and I mentioned this before, we got the Euros, we got the Copa America. It's going to be very, very difficult to get deals done. Unless you get a deal done before the Euros.
Well, that's what you're hoping that they're doing right now, right? What's Paratici and all those guys doing now?
So, if you're the purchaser, if you're the selling club, and you fancy your player is going to go to South America or is going to go to the Euros, and there's a chance that he's going to increase his value, you're not going to jump at the first offer.
No, you're not.
I think there's going to be a lot of brinkmanship going on here between clubs that need to sell for FFP, clubs who know that they need to sell for FFP, trying to do deals. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting transfer window.
100%.
But the one thing I think we really need to do is we need to increase our strength in depth. This is going to be probably our most important transfer window in probably since Pochettino left, I believe, this current season, and it will really determine whether ANGEBALL goes on, and delivers what we all hoped from those first 10 games.
Love that, Guy. Same question to you from SOF. You're someone who's massively interested in ANGEBALL and on seeing the kind of long game here. Is it a different It's a different situation. With 2 games a week, less time to prepare. How important is this summer?
Oh, it's absolutely vital. But I think Ange's probably already got his targets lined up. He knows what he needs to deliver what he needs to deliver. He completely believes in his system, so he's got his targets lined up, and Spurs will be right up there, knowing pretty much what their outgoings are going to be, and there's no one better at negotiating than Daniel Levy, is there? So, we'll get what we need. We'll get what we need. Pretty confident about that.
Yeah, I love that. SOF, thank you very much, mate, and also to Jory and to Adrian as well. Thank you very much for the super chats, guys. Listen, I want to quickly talk about the back line. There's a story that came out, or a quote. Let me get it up for you guys. Regarding Serge Reguilon. Before we look, the last topic of the day will be Aston Villa. But before we do that, let me just find it for you. Serge Reguilon's quotes around. Where is it? Here we go. Share this tab instead. First time I've seen this. Sorry, I'm a little bit sloppy with this stuff. This is Serge Reguilon and his departure from Tottenham. I didn't understand, and I still... Oh, where's it gone?
Not that picture.
There it is, to the right.
Here we go. Oh, here we go. I didn't understand, and I still don't understand the situation. During pre-season, I was very happy, and he was happy with me. Also, the staff. I was playing like a normal player all the games. This week, before I went to see him, you want me at the club? Yes. I have to do a list, and you are in my squad. It was strange. The next day, I was out of the training, and I didn't know what happened. I know I can play in Spurs, but in many aspects in football, the player doesn't have control, and I don't want to sit in the stadium watching. I'm 27. I have too much football to live. I don't understand why one day is yes, the next day is no, but I don't think it's the performance for a performance reason. I think it's another reason. This is football. This is business. I can't believe I saw that. I mean, it sort of also, you correlate that with the other day, Manchester United, he put out a tweet supporting Manchester United against Manchester City. A lot of Tottenham fans were fed up seeing that. Guy, I'll start with you. Serge Reguilon, we're moving to the back end of the pitch now.
Yeah,
a left back to compete with Destiny is a need.
Yeah. It's one of those things that Reguilon thinks he's as good as Destiny, and therefore he wonders why it was yes. And suddenly he's realizing that Destiny the doggy is there, and he's not going to play. So maybe that's what Postecoglou said. You're not going to compete with him. You're not going to get the minutes, so you're going to be unhappy. And he's out.
Is he good enough as a player? Is he better than Ben Davies as a left back?
Well, I think Ben is a fantastic servant, but he's 31. You know, his legs. Well, it's proven in the game against Wolves. You know, the reason why we lost that was because we didn't have our wing backs, and I think he is better than Ben in that position.
Jonny, you got Sessegnon, you have Ben Davies, or you have Reguilon, and yet you decide to get rid of Reguilon.
Look, I know all about that.
Is that an Ange mistake, or is there more to it? Is there something about Reguilon's personality? Is that the gift? What's going on here?
No, I don't think it's about personality because he was very happy there. I think it's a similar situation, to be honest with you, with what happened with Davinson Sanchez. I didn't understand why we got rid of Davinson Sanchez before we had a replacement. Whatever you want to say about Davinson Sanchez has incredible recovery speed. And when you're playing a high line, right, he's the guy. We saw it against Barcelona. We saw it against the other pre-season games where his recovery skills were unbelievable. Play him in a low block, right? No, he's no good, right? He's not good enough. But Reguilon, okay, look, this is a guy who's come all the way through the Real Madrid academy, right? You don't make it through from the kid Real Madrid academy to first team football if you're not good enough to become a professional footballer. He then came to Spurs, and I thought he was good for us in the system that we were playing. We then got a new manager in, and the system didn't suit Reguilon, so the manager says. He was then. It took 2 minutes for probably the world's best defensive coach, Simeone, to call on him to go to Atletico Madrid. He went straight into the team, not a problem. And then he had a little niggling injury, which he had to go into hospital for. And unfortunately, whilst having the operation in the hospital, he caught one of the hospital superbugs. And he was seriously ill. I'm not talking about a little bit ill, seriously ill. Blood transfusions, life-threatening stuff, okay? And he was ill for months and months. He came back right at the end of the season. He's come back to Spurs, eager to prove himself, and he loved it at Spurs. I mean, he loved Spurs, and he thought that he'd done enough. He was told that he'd done enough. And I was told the same thing come the summer, after the Barcelona game, in fact, where he played and had a really good game. So it was a shock to me that he went to Man United on loan. Now, if you speak to Man United fans, they thought he had a really good loan spell there. Why did he come back? Luke Shaw's come back from injury. They've now got the cover of left back. He's come back to Spurs. Now, I actually thought, why would you now get rid of him again? I don't understand it because, if Destiny gets injured, and we've seen what happens, right? We're in trouble. I don't want to see Emerson play left back. I don't want to see Ben Davies play inverted left back. I don't want to see it, right? I'd rather see someone who's a natural left-sided player. Anyway, he's gone out. I then see him at Brentford, and he's been there 2 minutes. He's taking
but I don't think so. I don't think
he's taking
Reguilon
their corners. What's that?
I'm not sure. Reguilon couldn't have played if Reguilon played for Tottenham. Was there
couldn't
some
get him
rule around that you can't play for the same? He couldn't have done it. I'm not
No,
sure.
he could have played. He could have come back and played for us.
He could have come back and played. Yeah.
Yeah, he could have. He's only had one loan. What I'm saying to you is that I see him out there playing for Brentford. He's already on set pieces. He's already taken their corners. He's taken their free kicks. I think he's got 1 or 2 assists already. And I'm thinking to myself, well, hang on a minute. I'm watching this. What if Destiny gets injured?
All right. So let me ask this then. If Tottenham, I think we all agree that Tottenham need a left back. Someone to come in and play backup or rotation, whatever.
Yeah.
First of all, is Reguilon, from what he's just said, is he happy to do that? Probably not. But even if he was, if you could make the justification, having just called out the manager for being a flip-flop, is there?
Well, it's not going to be a. Look,
it's game over, right? It's game over. He's not going to play for Tottenham again, is he? After that,
look, I don't think there's a way back from that, but. What I would say is, you need backup, and I think it's, his football education is second to none. We're looking down on. I see people looking down on Serge Reguilon. I mean, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur. Hello, this isn't a guy that's been in some championship team. Okay, so I just think that if we're going to sell him, let's sell him. He's still only 27 years of age. But in a squad game, Sean, we can't have one left back when we're in Europe and we're chasing cups, if that's what we're going to do next season.
We got Emerson Royale, though, Guy, right? Emerson
No,
Royale.
not on the left. Not on the left. Not on the left, no.
But he's playing on the left. And I think you can make the argument, if you're a reasonable man, I think you can make the argument that Emerson Royale has been our best backup left back.
Emerson Royale is the luckiest man in the world that Postecoglou came into this team because he's a brilliant utility player, not on the left, of course. But and Postecoglou saved him because there was a moment last season when I didn't want to see him ever near our stadium, let alone playing regularly for us. Yeah.
But what did you think of him against Palace?
I thought he was excellent against Palace. He's a bit of a wild card, but he does what he needs to do, and he does it well. He's a good defender. He's good recovery. He's brilliant when our central defenders have gone forward. He does what he has to do to come back and defend. He was the one that sent the ball forward for Brennan to latch on to chase, from which the goal came.
Yeah,
he's good. I mean, he's a good utility back. Absolutely, but not on the left.
Not on the left. All right. So then, final thoughts. Just literally 30 seconds for both of you before we move on to the Villa game. Last topic. In terms of options, we spoke about the midfield. Sorry, we spoke about the forward line. In terms of additional players at the back end of the pitch, do we need if Reguilon's going to get sold or loaned back out or whatever else, we need somebody to come in on the left-hand side? Do we need another centre-back, or do we have it in Ash Phillips and maybe Vuskovic? Do we have enough quality at the centre-back spot now? Are we done with centre-backs? Because I still see centre-back links. I still see Edmund Tapsoba. I still see Mark Guehi. Every day I'm still seeing these like high-caliber centre-back links, and I'm thinking it's the least of our problems right now is the centre-back. Guy, I'll start with you. Where do you see right back, left back, utility, versatility, whatever, specificity? Where do you need any more support?
Well, firstly, I want Sessegnon's hamstring to be fixed because that boy has talent up in the yin yang, and I want to see it. I want to see it happen this next year. So if that's going to stop Reguilon coming back, that's a big risk to take. I would take Reguilon back. Davis, if he's going to stay with the club, he's going to be a centre back, and that's it, because he can't play left back in the Postecoglou system. So we definitely need a backup there. If he's going to stay, Does that mean we need another centre back? Well, we've got the boy who's currently playing. Is it Nottingham Forest? He's playing for. Is it Ashley Phillips?
He's playing in Plymouth. He's playing in Plymouth.
Yeah, we've got him. He's going to be ready.
We've got
to come
Alfred
back,
Dorrington, who's in the youth team, and we've got this guy, this 16, 17-year-old now, Voskovic, who scored a brilliant headed goal over in Poland on the weekend. So apparently,
he's only just
future's very bright, mate. I think it's too early for him, but the future's very bright for our centre back spot. I just don't want it. It all comes down to dollars and cents. Like, can you afford? I don't understand why we're still seeing transfer rumours for Mark Gahey and for Edmund Tapsoba. Tottenham, whatever your budget is, you don't need to drop another 60 million quid. You see Romero kissing the badge. You see the passion. You see the loyalty. You see the back line feeling settled. I don't think we need any help there. I think we need help at the forward end of the pitch. I think we need a backup goalkeeper.
Yeah, what if Rail come in for Van der Ven?
No one's coming in for Van der Ven. He's Tottenham. He's Tottenham. He's going to be out of Irold.
So can I ask the question then? Ask the question. If we're saying that our keeper is the best we've had in years, a fantastic acquisition. If we're saying that Destiny Udogie is fantastic, if we're saying that Porro has been fantastic this season, we're saying Romero's really stepped up and been a captain of captain material, and Mickey Van der Ven has been unbelievable. Then explain to me why
we're conceding 1.55 goals against.
1.71 expected goals against, the highest in our
history.
That's the system. The highest in our history.
It's the system.
And no club has ever qualified for the Champions League conceding 1.51 goals. The nearest being Newcastle, 1.34. Is that the players or is that the system?
But Johnny, that's the system which has been compromised.
It's the system.
But it was compromised by injury and makeshift players in replacement for that front four.
So why hasn't that improved dramatically in the 5 weeks that those two have been playing together?
Well, when was the perfect back four played together for a whole game? When?
The first 10 games and the last 6 games.
Yeah. They haven't played in the last 6 games. The 2 games against.
Of course. Porro and Udogie. Yeah, you're right. We
right. We lost Udogie. We had Davis. We lost Porro. We had Emerson. We conceded 2 goals.
I understand that it hasn't improved much, Guy. In those, it has not improved dramatically. Look, you can see. Look,
very few teams have their back four undisturbed all season.
It also coincided with our 2 best number 5s, Bentancur and Bizuma, not playing at their best. They're playing at 70% at the moment.
But Guy, I understand you. We're balanced over a whole season. What I'm saying to you is, I believe that this is the best defence we've had assembled in many, many years, since Toby and Jan and Carl Walker and Danny Rose and Lloris. I think it's the best we've had in years. I think the midfield is definitely an improvement on what it has been in the last wee while.
Yeah, but it's still not up to Dembele, Eriksson, and Dele.
No, but I'm saying that there is something fundamentally wrong with the system, in my opinion. There's a balance why these players who are much higher caliber than what we've had still are exposed by this system. I think a small tweaking of the system will enable those numbers to come right down and stop us, conceding. I mean, okay, Palace, we hardly conceded a chance, okay? But that is a very, very poor Palace team. Eze was about 30% fit. No Elise. No Takore, had a lot of players missing. I just think that it needs tweaking. It needs tweaking. I think our personnel are superb. I've got nothing but praise for the entire back 4 or 5, if you include the keeper. But I still ask the question: why are they constantly being exposed? Because they're so inverted. They're so inverted, the backs, right? Yeah. The pressure, the amount of room on left and right hand side when either of our wingers push forward leaves them with too much to do, and it leaves the pressure on Sarr and Basuma, whoever else is to fill in those gaps. And I I think against better teams, we might get caught out even more. I just would like to see him tweak it a little bit. It's so congested in the middle of that part. When I look at someone like Destiny Udogie, for example, when I saw him play for Empoli, Udinese, he would pick up the ball. He would pick up the ball on the touchline, and he would run down that flank, and he would cut in and shoot. But he would gather pace, and he would have a chance to accelerate. When he's playing so inverted, when he picks up the ball and tries to drive, quite often he's running into traffic, whether it's our own players or the other players are always inverted. The times in our season where he has managed to get space, he's looked like a machine. And I just want to see them pull wide at times and use the space and try and tweak that system to cover our defenders, because I think those goals against are doing our defence an injustice to the quality that they actually are.
So what is the tweak? Yeah, I mean, I think you've just alluded to it there, that against the low block, we're crowding around their penalty area, and we're looking for we're playing. We're just trying to probe, and then over the top comes a high ball, and we're chasing back to stop the goal. Against a standard Premiership side that's playing mostly in the middle of the park, but in their half, you're saying we're leaving too much gap. We're not playing to the width. But we've got the players that can play to the width. I think
correct.
I think our man is cut. My brain is going 63, going on 23. It's the what's his name on the wing on the right?
Johnson?
No.
Kulu. That predictability.
Yeah, but he keeps cutting in on his left foot because his right foot hasn't got a great right crossing foot. So the width, he keeps bringing it in and narrowing the field. Werner sticks to the wing. Brennan sticks to the wing. But is that where it's happening? Because in the second half against Palace, we were playing down the wings, the flanks, and we were leaving space in the middle for our attackers.
They weren't good enough to exploit that space. Look, the thing with Kulu, there's no doubt there's a player in there. But for me, you look at Harry Kane. I've mentioned this before, so if people have heard this, I apologise for repeating myself. But Harry Kane, when Eriksen left, was not the Harry Kane that we saw that left the club. He wasn't the player that dropped deep. What he did, he filled the void because we never went out and bought a creative midfielder. So he dropped into that void and became that creative midfielder. What did he do? He worked on his game, and he worked and he worked and he worked and he worked. And for me, at the age of 22, 23, that Kulu is, he should be working on his weak foot. I don't want to see this excuse.
He hasn't got a weak foot. It's all in his mind, mate. It's
well, that's
all
what
in
I'm
his
saying.
mind.
Work on it.
I've never seen him ever. Mean this since I'm not just saying this with hyperbole. I have literally never seen him take a man on with his right hand down the right hand side and fail with his right foot. His right foot is absolutely fine. He just prefers the confidence of his left foot, like we all do. But his right foot is more than capable. I just think he needs to have the confidence. It's more of a mentality thing than a technicality thing to go for it. But I think everyone agrees that he could be the 10. I think that the only reason he's played on the right, and also the things he does, the things that he has unique about him as a winger.
Can't get the ball off him.
No, you can't get the ball. He doesn't run at like full pace. He's not a full pace guy, but he dribbles at semi pace whilst also elbowing and shouldering people off. You can't get the ball off him. I understand people's frustrations with his predictability. I get it, completely get it. But the guy is unique in what he brings. There isn't another winger in the Premier League that can do the same sort of thing that he can do, which is in a situation when you're down to 10 men, like at Luton, and you need a guy who can play the outlet. Sonny can't do that. Erling Haaland can't do that.
He comes as a pair, though. He works with Porro very, very well. When Porro is on the field, Kulu's a better player.
Yeah, Kulu's a chemistry guy. I completely agree because, Guy, the best 6 months we had out of Kulu was when Matt Doherty was in the pitch in Conte's first season. Conte and Kulu had unbelievable immediate chemistry, and then Matty Cash ruined that.
Oh God,
with that
man.
horrible tackle on Doherty in the away game. And I hope that there's some consequences for that this weekend. But I'd love it if Porro and Kulu. Yeah, I hope that I completely agree. You know what, guys? Let's actually use that catalyst quickly to move into the last segment. I've taken too much of your time up. It's been a wonderful discussion. Jonny, you're always excellent. I'm glad you're feeling better, and I'm so glad you've been here. Guy, you've been absolutely sensational. If everybody has enjoyed the conversation, please let us know. Give Guy, it's his debut on the channel. I want him to feel welcome to come back, and I hope
a very good debut as well, Guy.
Oh, thanks, John. It was nice to banter with you.
Yeah. I saw Dave in the chat. We haven't finished quite yet. We're still going to do the Villa preview now quickly. But I did see Dave in the chat say it's been a wonderful conversation, but there's no devil's advocate without Dave. You know what, Dave? You're absolutely right. We're going to call this Thursday show from now on. When Guy comes on, it's going to be a new show called On the Other Hand. It's a new title, and it's going to be exactly the same concept, just debate. But it's going to be called On the Other Hand, Episode 1.
Could be called Where's Dave? Could be called Where's Dave?
Where's Dave? Exactly.
W2F, Dave.
Guy, let's talk last topic then. We just done that little sideways segment into Aston Villa. Massive game. Massive. Game. Absolutely huge.
Well, I called last week's game huge. This is even huger.
Yeah, but Villa tonight they're in Amsterdam, so they haven't had a moment to prep for Tottenham. They've got to worry about Ajax first.
Well, we hope that Ajax does a job on them, number one, and we hope that Matty Cash gets injured, and if not, leave it to Cutie. But no, I don't wish injury on anybody except for Matty Cash. Aston Villa. We've got to remember that Aston Villa play the sort of game that we love. They're going to leave us spaces. They play very much like us. They're going to hit us on the break as much as we're going to hit them on the break. But I think we're better than them. I think he's done a great job with that group of players, and more power to him for being in fourth. But the only reason why we're not streaks ahead of them is because of that injury list that we got after the Chelsea game, and I still believe that we are rightful owners of that fourth place, and I think we'll go out and get it on Saturday.
How do you see it happening, mate? Look.
Same as it did in the first half against Aston Villa last time.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So, what happened in the first leg at our stadium? We dominated them, right? We absolutely smashed them up. We just couldn't get that final piece of the jigsaw. Yeah, and Villa broke on us.
Rishi was not on form then either. I'm not even sure he was playing. Was he playing against them?
Yeah.
But was he playing? Well, look, he's not playing. We got Sonny in the middle this time. And we've got a new attack. I think we're going to open them up. It's just whether we put them away.
Jonny, just quickly before I come to you, sorry, I'm so sorry, Jory. I didn't see this come through your second super chat. I just want to, because it was on the previous conversation. ANGEBALL is the right strategy. The tactics are too uniform and it has to adapt like Klopp and Pep has had to do if you want to join the Premier League. I think Jory's speaking from the same hymn sheet as you are there, Jonny. Appreciate you, Jory, mate. Really do. Thank you very much, mate. I'll reach out to you, Jory, because I know I'm desperate to get you back on the channel as well, mate. I'll bring you on the other hand. Next week. Dave, sorry, Jonny. How do we beat Villa, mate? How do we beat Villa on Sunday?
Well, I was there last season when we went away, and
have you just pulled out
No,
that's the game day program.
That's last year's program. Right, I was there. I'm just looking actually who was actually playing there. No more Lloris, Sanchez, no more Perisic, no more Dyer, no more Danjuma. Foster's still there. No Tanganga, no Lucas Moura, and no Clement Longap. We got quite a big. There's quite a big difference in a team. In the game at our ground, we lost 2-1. I remember a player who I wanted Spurs to get actually at one stage about 2 years ago, Pau Torres, scored a late goal. I think it was like 6-7 minutes of injury time with a header just before half time.
Yeah.
and it was 1-1, and then Ollie Watkins.
I'm not a fan of Pau Torres. He's good in the air, but I don't.
Yeah,
I
he's
think
good in the air. But I mean, we had our team was Porro, Emerson Royal, right centre back, Ben Davies, left centre back, and Destiny Adoji in the midfield with Bentancur and Lo Celso, with Johnson, Kulu, Brian
Johnson
Gill
was on the left, wasn't he?
Brian Gill and Son. Richie wasn't playing. Just for your
Richie wasn't playing. Okay.
No, so we had no Richie. We had Brian Gill on the left. We had Johnson on the right. We had Kulu playing as a 10. Yeah, that's the one.
Was that the match day program? Was it, Guy?
It was. Yeah, it is.
Look at you guys. Look at you.
Yeah.
I never buy them. I pick them up when they've been left behind. When we lose, people leave them behind.
That's how you get your money back. That's how you start to make your money back on the day.
A matching pair. Yeah. So
I love that.
Listen, I think again, Gus was 100% right when he turned around and he said, "Guys, sorry, what did I say, Gus?"
Gus
sorry
is
about
okay.
that. I don't know why we didn't think about more of how we actually fell apart from that Chelsea game. It's really hurt us because I do believe if we hadn't imploded and lost 5 players in that game, we would be not only above Aston Villa, but I think we'd be right on the tail of Arsenal. I really do, because that Villa game, as I'm saying, you look at that setup.
Was it followed by or preceded by West Ham?
I think that
West Ham was after Villa, wasn't it?
I think West Ham was after.
Yeah.
But I mean, yes, it was the game after, I believe. I think West Ham was the game after. Which was another farce where we imploded. We dominated them and they scored 2 lucky goals. But I do think that, when you look at the team that we put out that day, we only lost 2-1. We had Brian Gill on the left. We had Davis and Emerson Royal. And this is why I always go back when people give Emerson Royal a hard time. Without him, if you took him out the squad this season, we'd be in a much bigger mess, because he's come to the rescue, whether it be playing on the left, whether it be playing on the right, or playing in right centre back. I think with a stronger team, there should be no reason, if we believe in ourselves, that we can't go there on Sunday, especially after they've been away playing Ajax, that we can't go there and get a result. And I think it's a statement result that the fans need, because I think if we go there and we beat them, the belief will return to the club, and then I think the atmosphere will start to build again for the running.
We got a massive games coming up after that. We got a little bit of people were going to sit there and say Luton next at home, should be beating them, but actually Luton are a really, really difficult team. Forest, Fulham away. And then after those 3 teams are out of the way, then you go into that ridiculously difficult situation of Newcastle away, City at home, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away, Chelsea are in there somewhere as well. And then
I should point out that game against Villa that we lost was only 3 days after we lost at Wolves. Right. So we lost the Chelsea game, decimated, and we went to Wolves and lost in the last minute with those 2 stupid goals.
Yeah, we were there.
And we were indeed.
And then we lost to Aston Villa and at home, and it was devastating because we thought the world was falling around us. And then the following game was West Ham. It might as well have been the world. So it was right at a critical moment. Had we won that the way we should have done, I think we, as Jonny says, we'd be in a different season.
The only thing I would say, I think, look, Villa at home are a different entity to Villa away. I think we smashed Villa on the day. I think they were just, I think we were unlucky, but the team didn't click in the final third. But I would also say Unai Emery is a tactical genius as a manager. I think Unai Emery is someone who sits there and he's happy to say, today we're going to play 3 at the back. Tomorrow we're going to play 4. In the midfield, today we're going to have 2 10s and a 6. Tomorrow we're going to play 3 8s. He is someone that is thinking with a 5D chessboard, and he's got an angle. He's got something that he wants to exploit in every game. He's always I think he thinks more about the opposition than he does about his own team. and caters more than any other manager in the Premier League. And I think it's something that's very, very impressive. But I think he also focuses more on cup competitions than he does on the league. And I think that tonight is his priority. Therefore, I hope that by the time the boys get back from Ajax, when they get back to Aston Villa's training ground, they've only got 24 hours of training to play for Tottenham. And I really hope that Ange is prepping for it. SOF here is saying game will be won in the midfield. McGinn
100%.
and Louise are no pushovers. Bentancur and Bissouma or Sarr will have to up their resent form. I love that. Villa difficult at home. Guys, final question for you then. I completely agree, SOF. I think the back four picks itself if it's fit. The top three picks itself if it's fit. But the midfield three is where the game is won and lost, and we have options there. Where do you guys see the midfield three being? How do you see Ange
got to drop
it?
Lolo. For me, you've got to drop Lolo. Look, this game is about aggression. Ange talks about aggression. I was really heartened to see, as I said earlier, Johnson aggressively trying to win the ball back that led to our first goal that got us back. But on Sunday, that midfield with Douglas Luiz and McCann are a nasty bunch. And I don't think Lolo is ready for this right now. It has to be Sarr. It has to be Bissouma. And we need to be aggressive. I want to see Romero stepping into that midfield to help bolster it up when necessary. I think he will do that. And Masterson needs to step up to his game. But if we do not win that battle in the midfield, the game could be lost. And I think, aggression is the name of the day. State your case, make them feel you're there. This, for me, should be like the Battle of the Bridge, where you go in there, you're going to war. I don't want to see pussyfooting around.
No.
This is probably the most important game of our season to date.
Yeah.
If we win, we're 2 points behind with the game in hand. If we lose, we're 8 points behind. This is our season right here, right now. I'd be giving him the Gettysburg Address, and they should be going into battle. And I want to see fire in the belly from that off. I haven't seen fire in the belly, Sean, for quite a long time. I want to see that aggression. Romero, I know we all had a go at him because he was a loose cannon. He's been so dialed down, I can hardly hear him. He's on silent. I think he just turn it up, not to full volume, but maybe to half volume. And I think with Porro there, Porro's got that aggression. I think, excuse me, between the players that are on the pitch, that's why personally I'd like to see Richie back, because I think he's aggressive enough to help.
Richie won't be back for the game though.
No. I think we would need it with the Pau Torres back and that sort of brutal defensive centre backs. They do give up goals. But I think that's.
I'm not even sure if Porro's back, to be honest. But on the back of Emerson Royale's performance, I'm not that. I mean, I'd love to see Porro back, but I don't think necessarily an issue.
He played very well, but he played
very well. He played very well.
I've no problem with being on the right.
What's your take, mate? Well, tell me your 11.
I would agree with the Gettysburg address, except Gettys Cash address, I think we'd call it. And
I love it.
And let's start with that. First 5 minutes, get him off the field.
The Gettys Cash address.
The Gettys Cash.
Love that.
And then I think I'm hoping Porro will be back. You're probably right, he's not, but I wouldn't have a problem with Emerson. I agree, Sarr, Bissouma, and Masterson. I think Sonny up the middle, and Werner on the left, and on the right is going to do the biz. And then we've got the good transfers to come in at about 60 minutes, especially if we're chasing the game, which I bloody hope we're not, with Brennan. And, I do think, much as people do argue that he does respond to what's happening on the field. He does change the tactics, but it's mainly in the form of personnel, because we've won 18 points from losing positions. That doesn't mean the manager's sitting on his haunches and doing nothing. It means he's actually making some very positive choices.
I think we've also, for what it's worth, I think we've also lost a lot of points from winning positions. You know, I think that.
But we've had a lot of injuries.
We've lost 5 games from winning positions.
Yeah,
the most in the league.
Yeah, but not with our first team on the field.
True. But no, you're never going to have your first team. Like, you know, this idea that I think you have. This is again more clarification or more justification why it's a squad game. I think the notion. You look at Liverpool right now. You know that their first team is decimated, and they're still finding a way to get it done. I don't think injuries can ever be an excuse in this day and age, especially when you're upping your season ticket prices, guys.
When you're a new squad
like
we are. We're a new squad, and Angie's got only a handful of players that he can put out on the field and do the biz. And as I said, next season's going to be the one. If we get Champions League this season, that's going to set us up for a long period of time of sustained success. I really believe that.
So what are we saying, guys? What's the score prediction for Villa on Sunday? I'll start with you, Guy.
1-2 Spurs. I think it's going to be 1-1.
1-1. Okay, but you're
I think
predicting you're predicting 2-1. But you think it's going to be 1? Okay.
I know it's difficult. I think a very, very close tie between the two of them. I think we could nick it.
Okay. Would you take a draw?
Well, I don't want to leave with anything less. No, absolutely.
Okay.
I'd take a draw at Villa. It's not what we need, so I've got to say we're going to win it.
I love that. Glass half full. Jonny, prediction?
Got Palace right, 3-1, but that never looked like coming to fruition after 70 minutes, let's be honest. I actually joked to the guy next to me. I said, I predicted 3-1. How wrong I was. And then boom, 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 all games go. I actually think, I don't know why, I've just got a feeling that we're going to beat them. And I think there's going to be a lot of goals in it.
So do I. You look at Aston Villa. Aston Villa. I know most of these games I think of Aston Villa away, but they went to United and they were 2-0 up and ended up losing the game 3-2. They played Luton. Sorry, they played Forest and they were 3-0 up and let Forest back in 3-2. Ended up winning 4-2. Then Luton, they were 2-0 up. It went back to 2-2. Ended up winning 4-2. Like Aston Villa have this propensity right now, similar to Tottenham, in that they can get ahead in a game, and then they can suddenly let the opposition get back into it. But you know, most of the time, Villa then find a way. What I would hate to see is Villa to go 2-0 up against us to get back into the game 2-2, and then them nick it in the end. I think Tottenham need to take the lead. For me to be confident, I need to see Tottenham be, 1-2-1 up, 3-2 up, or whatever at some point in the game. If we're chasing the game, I always feel like we'll still be in it, but we'll ultimately not.
I think the issue here is that Villa will be quite happy with a draw, keeps them 5 points ahead. They know that Spurs need to come at them. Now, if we come at them, we could well leave ourselves susceptible to the counter-attack with Watkins and Bailey and the likes and their pace down the flanks. So
first goal's important then, isn't it?
Well, I just think that even if it's a draw, we're going to have to go at them. And even if it's 1-0, we're still going to have to go at them. I can't see a Desmond. I think it's going to be, I'm going to go 3-2 Spurs.
3-2 Spurs.
Plenty of goals and lots of tension, lots of biting of the nails. And
love that. Listen, I'm excited about it. I'll be watching Villa against Ajax tonight. Hoping for injuries. Hoping for a few injuries, a spicy, feisty game, and an exhausting one. Guys, we're gonna round it off. Guy, I want to say massive thank you to you, mate. You made your debut on the channel. Absolutely fantastic. You were in front of 500-600 people all at once watching, and I thought you were brilliant. Do you have a Twitter account? Are you available on social media? Can people find you anywhere? Or is this just the first of many times you're going to come on the channel?
They can, but I don't usually talk about football on my Twitter account.
He talks
So
about
I discourage football discourse on my Twitter account.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm in the theatre. I've got the productions coming up in London, and I produced a show about the Jaws. The shark is broken in the West End.
Okay.
A couple of years ago. So
can we write a Daniel Levy screenplay? Can we do that together and see if we can find a little?
It's called The Devil's Passion, isn't it?
Well, now we know why. We know why now, Guy. You chose Spurs because there's nothing but drama at this club.
Very good, Johnny. Very
nothing
good.
but drama, and some of the finest drama that you will see probably on.
I was due to be a physicist until I supported Spurs and then became an actor.
Listen, Guy, we're gonna be bringing you on. I hope if you enjoyed it, well, I'll speak to you afterwards. But if you did enjoy it, love to get you on the regular. We're gonna call the show from now on. On the other hand, I think people, guys, let us know in the comments if you're watching it now. Let us know if you're watching this after the show's finished. Drop a comment. Let me know how Johnny did today, because I think Johnny needs to be respected, because he was disrespected last time, and I've called it out. It was outrageous. So you go in on Johnny as you normally should and would, and also let us know how Guy has done as well. Bear in mind it's his debut. And listen, I want to say massive thank you. You got Johnny. What's coming up on Twitter for you, my man? Are you back on the spaces?
Yeah. I'm not after today. Probably be on later in the week. We're going to get going. I've been speaking about getting them started again, the Twitter Spaces. I will be on with Brian for Anger Management on Monday, midday. And then obviously I will be on with you guys for Devil's Advocate, which could be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, depending on.
Could be any time at all. Could be any time.
Keep you all guessing. But yeah.
All right, Guy. Listen, I know Guy doesn't want his Twitter to be infiltrated by you little rabble, but Johnny's Twitter is available and it's right there. So smash that follow for him, and then there you can find him on all of his different socials. Guys, I want to say a massive thank you to you in the panel. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone. It's been a massive, huge amount. 600 people here watching on a Thursday lunchtime is pretty impressive. I want to say a big thank you to Adrian, to Jory, to SOF, to Jory again, to Martin, and to SOF again. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate all of your support. We're going to love you and leave you. I want to point you in the direction of the Irish Hotspur at 7 o'clock tonight. I'll be over there with Dave and Jack and one of the boys from We Are Tottenham TV. I'll see you then. If not, I'll see you tomorrow on here. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, guys, Spurs.
Coys.